Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Good evening, people. Welcome back to another episode of the New Spurs Order podcast. I'm on hosting duties today. It's Tapping Tobes. I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Mr. Scott Hall, aka Yao Bruce Busia. How are you doing, man?
Piss off.
For those who are listening on audio and can't see the video, Yao is very upset with me because I've forced him against his will to come out of his Friday night pleasures to actually talk about Spurs, which are unsurprisingly one of the worst things that he wants to speak about right now. So
Listen, I'm glad that Sting's here, so I'm not the only depressed individual in the building. Yeah, I'm at the top of the rafters, just pure vex. Yeah, and I'm glad that Sting's here. You know what? Let me not even say too much because I've got some vim coming for this pod.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, we're gonna keep this one short and sweet, but you can bring that vim as well. And as Yao alluded to, we're joined. Actually, it's probably your first episode in a minute. Sting, aka Jack. How you doing, man?
Listen, I'm glad you lot made me smile just now because on Sunday I'll be jumping off my first floor balcony because that's the only kind of pain I want to focus on that day because I don't want to be thinking about what's going to happen or what already has happened by that time.
Fair. It's safe to say that the Mandem aren't optimistic about a North London derby, which is actually a sad state of affairs when you actually consider where we were a couple months back. The energy was completely different for this same fixture back in May 2022, but such as Spurs, it tends to do that to you. They tend to do that to you anyway. But listen, we're gonna obviously the main talking point is the North London derby, right? I'm not even gonna bother speaking about Portsmouth. I don't care. I'm happy we won the game, but bro, struggling against Portsmouth at home, fringe players, I can't be asked to dissect that. So I thought we could make this time spent together a bit more impactful. And let's actually talk about some of the players that we've been linked with before we get onto the North London derby. So we know what's what. We know Conte wants player A and the club are pushing player B, or the club don't want to sign player A and stuff. But let's talk about a name that I'm actually sick to death of hearing right now, to be honest. I'm sick to death of hearing and seeing his name. Let's talk about Pedro Porro, because it's obvious that Spurs are looking for a right wing back in this window. It's obvious that Spurs are interested in Pedro Porro. It's obvious that every single bloody journal alive, Spurs or non-Spurs, feels like they need to report on this story every day, telling us absolutely sweet a fool. So much talk, and yet this guy is nowhere near joining Spurs. Jack, I'm going to start with you. Do you share the same frustrations as me here, or am I alone?
I've been like that for a while, for the past few years now, in a couple of transfers. You know, journals can, report this once and be done with it, and I'm fine with that. But when it's the same journals repeating the same information, or we're interested or we're intrigued,
We're monitoring.
There's monitoring FC.
Playing our cards right. Smoke screen.
Mate, there's always a term, a buzzword or a buzz term for any transfer we're potentially interested in. I don't care. I don't really know how good Porro is, to be honest, because I don't really remember him when we played him, to be honest.
Same.
And yeah, I just think that we as fans should just forget any kind of hype, just relax a little bit, because I feel it's what they say about insanity. It's expecting different results from repeating sort of occurrence of something. I'm not going to do the insane thing and expect something different, something to happen quite quickly and miraculously. It's not going to happen, and we don't care. Most of us at New Spurs Order just don't give a damn. So, why should we expect anything out of it?
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you, man. It's just after the end of that summer transfer window and all the gas about the money available and stuff like that, like it's very hard to trust these men. Yao, I'm gonna ask you a slightly different question. what are your thoughts on the player, right? And what are your thoughts on the right wing back situation now? Because it's clear to see that Spurs are looking for someone who is actually capable with the ball at their feet. But in order for them to move for Pedro Porro, one, they have to stump up the cash, and two, they have to get rid of at least one of the options now at right wing back. So what do you make of Porro, and how do you see this ending?
What do I think of Porro as a player?
Yeah.
Ain't seen much of him, but from what I have seen, he must be better than what we have.
Not hard.
And to be honest with you, Spurs is like the only team, apparent big six, because I've had enough of us being called a big club or a sleeping giant. Well, or small boys until proven otherwise. Like Spurs have notoriously been this club that players are like, well, we don't want you, but they're happy to stay. Why has the recent publication been that Emerson and Doherty are happy to stay at Spurs when it's clear that they're not wanted? Make it make sense. If Cristiano Ronaldo knew that he wasn't liked at United and bounced, Cristiano Ronaldo with all his accolades, yeah. Emerson's biggest accolade to date is playing in the Power League. So you tell me how somebody with an accolade like that can have the audacity to say, I'm happy to stay at Spurs. Only Spurs could do this. So my frustrations with all of this is it's the same old story. Nothing's changed. I saw that the Supporters Trust have asked for answers to their questions and have been told those questions will be answered after the transfer window. Big man, there is no signing that you're going to make between now, the 13th of January, and the 1st of February that's going to make me believe that real change has happened at this club. No, nobody. Not even if by some miracle, and listen to what I'm saying here, because I know it will never happen. Even if by some miracle, Spurs went into the market, said, Bunny, we're going to put 200 million and go and buy Mbappe. I'm just throwing a massive hypothetical out there. Even that sort of transfer will make me not believe that real change is happening at this club. Nothing, absolutely nothing will make me believe real change is happening in this club until one of two things happen. They fully back a manager, which I know we can do the breakdowns and be like, oh, Poch was backed, oh, Jose was backed, oh, Conte was backed. We can do the breakdowns of all that kind of stuff. And we can do the breakdowns of how they weren't backed in the same way. But either this board backs the manager seriously, gets in some real quality seriously between now and summer, or they just leave. Because I've not wanted this board for like well over a decade. And to be honest with you, their tenure, no matter what certain personnel believe in terms of them delivering a shiny new stadium for us, their tenure has absolutely stunk. Yeah, because on the footballing aspect of things, the team hasn't got it done. That's simple.
Interesting. I think one thing you mentioned about the right back situation now was that article. I was like nowadays, I actually try to avoid reading Spurs articles now because they just do my head in. Ever since the summer, they genuinely just do my head in, right? But you know how it is on Twitter, right? Everyone's regurgitating the same thing over and over. And I'm seeing the same thing over and over that, oh, Spurs are finding it difficult to move on Matt Doherty and Emerson because they're happy at the club. Well, no shit. You're underperforming massively at your job and you're under no pressure to leave. Of course you're going to be happy. You're living in London. You're earning 50, 60 racks a week. And you're playing poorly most weeks. And you're under no pressure. And what annoys me is Conte was more than happy to create an environment where certain men were completely ostracized from the squad. Reguilon, Winks, Joe Rodon, who else?
And Dombele.
Who?
Ndombele.
Ndombele. Ndombele, Lo Celso. Why can't we do the same for Emerson? Why can't we do the same for Matt Doherty? If you're really serious about selling them, make it clear to these guys, we want to sell you. If you don't get this move away, you're not gonna play. We're not gonna be able to register you for this competition, that competition. Fam, Reguilon was sent to Azkaban, but I'm seeing Emerson Royale having a jolly up. Oh, he's happy. Of course, he's happy.
Find him.
His Brazilian mates are at the club, and he's playing.
Brazilian.
He's dropping threes out of tens most weeks, and his place is unchallenged.
Listen, my thing is this, yeah, and I know this might be, some people might be like, yeah, you're talking crazy, yeah, but when I wanted players out, when I used to play Football Manager, Champ Manager back in the day, when I wanted players out and they weren't moving quick enough for my liking, I find them 2 weeks' wages. I didn't care what the issue was, HR and all that kind of stuff. I basically made the environment hell for them. Yeah, I
Made it
benched them.
untenable.
I gave them nothing but abuse. I know people be like, you can't do that in this day and age. Piss off. Yeah. If I was Conte, every single day Emerson sees me, I'll tell him, you're not a footballer. You're absolutely crap. Don't play football again. That will be my message to him every single day until this guy leaves the club and he can go and be like, yeah, Conte was an absolute garbage manager. He abused me, blah, blah, blah. All of this nonsense, blah, 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 blah. I'm going to prove to him what you're not going to prove nothing because you're crap. Yeah. If I was Conte, I would make it hell for him. I'll tell him, go train with the under 15s. This is no longer your club. Find somewhere else pronto. Yeah. Fine. You can keep the whole, I'm going to keep my wages and stuff like that. But once I let the board know, listen, I'm never playing this guy again. The board has no choice from a financial standpoint, yeah, to even muck about with that. No point.
You know what is actually hilarious to me as well with this whole thing is like similar to Jack. I don't know much on Pedro Porro. I've only seen clips. I've seen the comps. He looks good in the comps, but hey, who doesn't look good in the comp, right? I didn't get to watch the home game, right? And I was told in the home game he was fantastic. I heard he was fantastic, and multiple people told me this. I said, okay, fair enough. Because when I watched him in the away game, I didn't really notice him. Not saying he was bad, but I just his performance wasn't distinguishable for me, right? But the bottom line is, if this is a player that the club have identified using the weaknesses that they've seen in our team, if they've identified this player, yeah, and said this player fits the need for what you want as a club. He's young, he can play in Conte's system, he's adaptable, he's good with the ball, etc., etc. If he's all of these things and he's their number one target, why are we still faffing about? It's the 13th of January. We're nearly halfway through the month. We play Arsenal in 2 days, no new signing. We play Man City next Thursday, no new signing. We play Fulham the following Sunday, no new signing. Like, and people, I'm so done with hearing that, oh, you got to be patient, you got to be patient. Why? Why do we need to be patient? If you knew that you had an issue heading into this window, why do you have to wait until the very last stages of the window to solve it?
But this is the annoying thing. We go into every window needing the same amount of players that we need every time. So we go in needing two centre backs, needing a forward, needing a right wing back, needing a left wing back, needing a centre mid. We've gone into this window needing the exact same thing. We went into the last summer's window needing that. We went into the previous summer window needing that. So people can talk about patience all they want.
We need a new force since Kane broke free. Imagine that. And listen, you know what? I'm giving everybody back their names. There's going to be no more insults. Everybody's having their names back. Yeah. We have needed a new striker. That doesn't mean that he's been crap, by the way. We've just needed a new striker, somebody that either challenges or makes your first team spot.
What about Llorente? What about Llorente, eh?
Llorente
what about Llorente? I was told that he was useful. He was good for Spurs.
No. See, the thing is, reversioning of stuff is kind of like when we got Llorente. This is before I joined NSO. But when we got Llorente, I remember the transfer going through, and I was like, I'm not mad at this point because
I was
I
mad.
understand it.
I'm telling you, I
No,
was
no,
mad.
annoyed.
I wasn't mad at the point because I was like, okay, this is like an experienced player. But what made me mad, yeah, I wasn't mad at the Llorente deal because of his experience, and I knew exactly what he was bought for. Bring him on last 10 minutes, if that, or if Kane gets injured, we have a focal point. I knew exactly, so I wasn't even mad. But what made me furious was we then decided we're not going to go after another striker. We're just going to move Son up top and keep Llorente on the bench. And that was it. That was the start of my pure and utter hatred for this board. Up until that point, I was like, man, whatever, man. You know, they came when we were about to be bust. You know, we were going to get relegated in 98. We had to beat Wimbledon 6-1. I'll never forget all of that kind of stuff. They came and all that kind of stuff, saved us from the purse of like freaking going into administration, all of that jazz. Up until that point, I was making excuses for them. But when that happened and it dawned on me, we are really going to move this South Korean player from his natural position up top, just in case Kane gets injured. And we're not going to go into the market and buy another striker that should really be challenging Kane. When I realized that, I was like, that is it. I have now found a new crusade, and it's against Enoch. And I have been against them ever since. There's nothing you can tell me. Nothing you can tell me. Oh, yeah, they brought millions into the club. I couldn't care less. Get rid of them. I'd rather be in administration than have Enoch in charge.
So on the topic of Enoch, right? Let's move on to our next player that we've been linked with, right? Because this, I don't know about you guys, but it screams like an Enoch signing for me, and I'm happy to be proven otherwise. But Leandro Trossard, right? 28 years old, good player. He is a good player. We have to caveat that he's a good player, and I think in the last 2 years, especially, he's made strides in terms of his goal scoring, right? Last season, I think he had 8 goals in 34 league appearances. This season, he's got 7 goals in 16 league appearances, right? So he's a player that has clearly sort of got better as he's entered the prime years of his career. Because I remember Trossard early on at Brighton, he clearly had technical quality, but he was so wayward, right? But you have to ask yourself this question: what problem do Spurs currently have that Leandro Trossard solves? And when I ask myself that question, the answer is nothing. There is no active problem that Spurs have that Leandro Trossard solves. He plays predominantly on the left-hand side. Son plays there. Richarlison plays there. This guy is older. This guy is 2 years younger than Son, and gets nowhere near Son in terms of his usual goal-scoring exploits, right? He's 2 years older than Richarlison, and yet has never scored Richie's highest tally at Everton, playing for Brighton, right? And to cap matters off, I'm not even looking at the stats because he's got good feet, etc., etc. But he's 28 years old and he's got 6 months left on his deal. And you just have to ask yourself a question: if this guy didn't have 6 months left on his deal, would Spurs even be interested in him? How can you look at Brighton and tell me Trossard is the one you want to go for? Look at their team, look at Spurs' issues, and you're telling me Trossard is the one we want to go for? Kulusevski's been injured for so many parts of this season, and we needed someone to step in at the right wing slot, and you're going for Trossard, who played predominantly on the left. Please interject, brother. Yeah.
I'd like, Spurs fans to correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like a Steve Malbronk kind of situation.
Steve.
Now, granted, I
like Steve.
I like
good player.
Yeah. And I do actually think the same of Trossard. I think he's a good player. I don't actually have much against him. Now, what I will say is if Spurs were firing on all cylinders, obviously we haven't done that for a very long time, but if we were firing on all cylinders, we probably would have never looked at him. And 2, we wouldn't have looked to him as an answer. However, the person that he would be competing with on that side has been smelling
Stinky,
of
yeah.
manure all season long, yeah. And honest to God, I don't mind this, yeah. But here's my problem with this transfer. It doesn't invoke real change for me. Yeah,
There
it
you
just
go.
feels like a familiar story that I've read over
Ding, ding,
and
ding.
over again.
Ding, ding, ding.
But what fans will do is they'll find a new way to find a reason to be positive about this signing this time round. They'll create little, stories and, theories as to why this one will work out as opposed to previous ones not working out. He's not going to address the issues we had. Personally, I think Richarlison should have been addressing those issues, but that's another debate. I'm not going to have that debate today
Oh, God.
because you two know what I think of Richie.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
But I won't do it today. Don't worry. But the point is, right. The other thing is also it's quite dangerous to go for a player who's thrived in a system that the club that he's currently at is married to. So when you go to a club with a completely different ecosystem, how will he fit in? Will he fit in straight away? Will he even struggle? Will he sort of adapt to the system that we implement? That's going to be tricky. So for a player of that level to completely jump ship from their system to ours. I mean, look at Basuma, for example. I think Basuma is quality. Like, he is genuine quality. We've seen it against us, right? And he struggled to come along this season for whatever reason. And I think signing someone okay, but someone that's not going to move any Spurs fan really from the same club in that same system. It's not. I don't see how this is going to work in any way, shape, or form.
I don't understand it, and I don't really get the policy now, right? Because I thought even with Conte here, I thought our strategy was clear. If a player that we're interested in isn't within the 25 and under mark, but is a player that can improve the team significantly, then okay, they'll go for him. But I thought the policy was Spurs were looking at 25, 26 and under type players. You saw that with Basuma, you saw that with Richarlison, you saw that with Jed Spence, you saw that with Kulusevski, Bentancur, Romero, right? It's only been exceptions to the rule and not the rule itself when you've seen the likes of Perisic and Longley and Fraser Forster. Forster came in because we needed a backup. Perisic came in because he was a free transfer and Conte wanted him. Longley came in because the club were too cheap to sign the young dynamic centre-backs that we were looking for, and he was available on loan, right? But Leandro Trossard, again, I have to caveat, I can see some qualities that he could offer Spurs, but I just don't really see how this elevates us as a side. I don't see how it elevates us. And for me personally, like, we've spoken so much on this podcast about how Spurs need to think about moving on from Harry Kane. And I feel like they've started that conversation. They just haven't had in-depth conversations. They started the conversation with Kulusevski and Richarlison, but we need more. And for me, sorry, one sec. My last point of this is the next attacker to come in. So we've got, for all intents and purposes now, I consider we've got 4 attackers that I maybe not so much Son this season because he's been pants, but generally we've got 4 attackers that you can rely upon. Yeah, I'm looking for the next attacker, the 5th one, to be one that is he comes into this team and I'm like, rah, like you can genuinely you're a guaranteed starter. That's what I want. I want a speed demon. I want a young, hungry, talented attacker. I don't want no, oh yeah, he's good, but he's gonna be replacement for Mora. No, I don't just want a replacement for Mora. I want a replacement for Mora who is capable of starting regularly and genuinely competing with the likes of Son and Kane.
So one thing that I think Spurs as a club have done badly, and I don't know what the reasons. I don't know if they've pandered to him. I don't know if they've done this to not lose their most valuable asset in Kane. But 2 summers ago, we were heavily, and I mean heavily, linked with Vlahovic while he's at Fiorentina. Heavily linked. Yeah. Everyone was like, yeah, It's just for Spurs to negotiate. It's a thing of the player wants to move. All of this jazz, yeah. Then it became apparent that he probably wants to move to Juve, which came after the summer transfer window. It wasn't during the summer transfer window. After the summer transfer window, while he was still at Fiorentina, people like he wants to go to Juve. Then Arsenal started getting links to him, and apparently that was likely to go through. And what infuriated me about that is I was like, bro, look at this guy's record the season before. And I was like, flipping out. We should have signed him. I don't care what anyone says. I think for the style of player that he is, the style of play we have, we should have signed him. Yeah. And we should have done what City did under Pep. And it's not the first time City have actually done this. City have done this under many other managers, especially Pellegrino. But Pep's one was the most frightening one. Pep came into a team that had won loads of trophies before. Well, I shouldn't say loads, but had won trophies before. Pep comes into the team. Aguero is the number one guy. That's undeniable. He's the number one guy. He's their goal scorer. He is their Harry Kane to Spurs. Pep gets Gabriel Jesus in January, plays him against us. I think was his debut, frightened the living hell out of me. And then starts him ahead of Sergio Aguero. Blasphemy. The manager had the balls to drop his number one guy for the new kid on the block. Spurs, in that same tenure, have gone into the market and bought Janssen to play secondary to Harry Kane. Bought Llorente to play walking stick to Harry Kane. And recently bought a kid that I've nicknamed Birdman because I like his nickname and his celebration. But he hasn't done nothing to earn that name, by the way. In Richarlison, who's just been injured. I forget what happened at the World Cup. He's been injured. And he hasn't had a good season. Yeah? So even if Richarlison is the replacement, no, there's no frills there. You know, I'm not over the moon or excited about that.
I am.
Go to the market. I mean,
but can I interject? Even if he isn't the direct like we signed Richarlison now, but like we all know that Spurs needed another attacker on top of Richarlison. We knew that in the summer. Right? And it would have been a nice to have, provided we had signed the players we needed to sign in the defensive areas, but we didn't do that. So we didn't have that extra attacker, and we didn't have the players in the central defensive areas as well. I just feel like the next attacker we need to bring in has to be categorically better than what we have. And I don't think Trossard is better than what we have. I really don't.
I don't think
Lucas Moura.
I don't think it's a case. This is going to sound mad. This summer, the summer just gone, we shouldn't have been focusing on attack. This summer gone, we should have been focusing solely on the defense.
Yeah.
Just that's that. That's all I can. If we spent the whole of last summer just signing 5 defensive players from, say, I don't know, a defensive midfielder to 2 centre backs and a left or right wing back, if that's all we did all summer, I'd have said it was an 8 out of 10. I'd have said it was an amazing transfer, because the last 2.5 seasons, I'll go 3.5 seasons. The last 3.5 seasons, there's been this disgusting stat on how many goals Spurs have conceded from Spurs players making mistakes. The stat is horrible. In fact, when Jose was in his tenure, the games that we lost, they had a stat where something stupid like a certain percentage of the goals that we had conceded had come from Spurs mistakes. From their actual defensive mistakes that were actually taken advantage of by the opponent. This was under Jose's tenure, which we're talking, 2.5 seasons ago now, or 18 months ago? Then we decide only Spurs can sack a manager a week before a freaking final. Only Spurs could do this. Sack a manager a week before a final. Put Mason in charge. Lord knows why. Freaking wait 72 days. Chase a man at the top of it. Say that everything's signed. Everything's done. He's coming. make Toby freaking put on an Inter Milan shirt and sing the song of the name, yeah, to then not make that go through and go get Nuno. Nuno, who left Wolves
By mutual consent.
by
He was
mutual
stinky.
consent. He was
He was
basically
stinky.
sacked.
Exactly.
He was basically sacked. Nuno from Wolves is the person we went and gone and get. Listen, on Sunday, people, I'll be in attendance at the game. If you see me, please do all you can to stop me from getting into a fight. Ask these man to give us a victory, because anything less, and I might receive another ban. And this will be it. That will be it. I'm not coming back. I'm not coming back.
Hashtag.
Listen, Toby saw me leave. I'd even stay. A few minutes after the second goal went in against Aston Villa, I said, yeah, that's it. I said goodbye to the people in the stands. And I left. I left because I knew where my head was going. I was like, I'm gonna do a madness. I'm gonna stage dive off this freaking seat because I've had enough of what I'm seeing. How can a club know what its issues are and never address them? We're gonna run Son and Kane into the top. It's not we're gonna run.
We've already done it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's already been
ran
done.
them into the ground. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see Yao doing a reverse Eric Dyer by climbing down the stands and going up and squaring up. I can see that happening. But yeah, hashtag pray for Yao. Give him the strength to keep his cool on Sunday. When the inevitable happens. But
so Jack, let's actually talk Sunday, right? Let's shift over because I hate talking transfers these days with Spurs. Let's actually shift over to the game. Let's quickly preview this one, right? Like, spirits are downbeat in the Spurs camp in comparison to last season.
Yeah.
And even in comparison to where we were in October, because it's like back then it was first versus third, 2-point gap between the two of us. And we were unbeaten. Fast forward a couple months, and I can't even tell you what the gap is. It's got to be double figures. It must be like 14, 15 points. They're ahead of us. And they're top of the league by 5 points. So it almost seems like they've gone in the direction that we were dreaming for Spurs to go through with Conte. And I didn't expect any sort of title challenge or anything. I just expected, third or fourth. But they have far exceeded their expectations whilst we've massively underachieved. Now, does this mean that for you can't see anything but a Spurs loss on Sunday, or do you take any inspiration from the fact that we are playing at home? It is a North London derby. We do have players capable of turning the screw on Arsenal. Like, what's your general perception here?
I think obviously playing at home, them being away to us as well, is quite important. Their record at our ground, we know we've tend to, it's quite successful on our part. But I know we got players that can turn on the screw. I know Kulusevski might be back. I know,
No, he's playing. He's going to play. Conte confirmed. Yeah, Conte confirmed. Yeah. He's going to play.
Ben 10, who knows, 50-50.
He'll play.
You reckon?
Yeah, he'll play for sure.
Yeah, I'd happily risk him, to be honest. But so there are redeeming factors in that. But the way we're playing, the way that Crystal Palace performance ain't fooling me. That performance against Portsmouth showed me more close to what what we could expect, to be honest. Because even though we won, I can see Arsenal coming out the blocks firing. I can see the high intensity, the press coming out. I can see us doing that as well, to be honest. It is in a one-off game like this. I can see us maybe attempting to do that. But I think the quality will come through, and I think our lack of quality at the back, especially, and out wide with the wing backs, from a defensive point of view, I think we're just going to get done right, left, and centre. To be honest, so no matter what atmosphere we put, no matter how much intensity we play, we're not used to playing with such high intensity. We're not used to carving teams open. Whereas Arsenal, the opposite, they have been doing that. So they're going to come out. They're going to come out of this game trying to do the same. And I think because they're so used to doing it, they're going to be much more competent in it.
Yeah, I want to come to you on this as well. So, listen, I don't think a lot of what you said is wrong. To be honest, I feel like if you're going off how both teams have played and the styles, obviously styles make fights. If you're going off how both teams have played and the styles, it doesn't look like it would be a positive outcome for Spurs. But just knowing the fixture at hand, and the territory in which they're venturing into, you never know. And just a manager in Conte who can just conjure up something, you never know. But yeah, I wanted to speak to you on Conte as well, right? Because we've spoken about the board, we've spoken about some of the players, but fundamentally, our performances against these so-called big sides this season, they've been quite poor. Like, surely Conte needs to show us something in this game, man. Surely.
I mean, we've had 5 defeats this season, if I'm correct.
Lost to no, we drew to Chelsea, lost to United, lost to. Oh, do you mean 5 defeats in the league?
In the league, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So 5 defeats in the league. Out of the big teams, we've lost to Liverpool, lost to United, lost to Arsenal. Out of the so-called Big Six, and we're yet to face City. Listen, we lost to Liverpool at home. We haven't beaten Liverpool in a fair number of years, which is an infuriation on my part. At the beginning of the season, drawing to Chelsea away looked like a good point to get. Now, looking at how they've been performing this season, and considering how we played on that actual game, it's nothing to be proud of. The loss to Man United,
disgraceful.
Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, and to be honest with you, the loss to Arsenal was even more disgusting. I'm sorry, but like at 1-1, you just have to be professional. Even if you're not playing well, you just have to be professional. You know it's a derby. You know their fans are up for it. I would have happily taken a frustrating 1-1. I'd have taken it. Yeah, because they would have been pissed. They would have been, we should have beaten you. Yeah, whatever, but you didn't. Yeah. Now they've got the victory. Their tails are up. They're top of the league. They're feeling great about themselves. They think every player they're getting is a baller. Yeah. They're coming to our ground gassed. I know last season everyone was like, oh, yeah, like they're going to turn you over. I was like, these men are not confident. They're not. They know what their record is at our stadium. They're not confident. This time around, they're legitimately gassed. Yeah. 100%. They genuinely believe we're going to come off and they're going to punch us up. And this is my problem. Even if you take into consideration that it's a derby, and anything can happen in a derby, that's the greatest thing about a derby. Anything can happen at a derby. I have no faith in what we're going to do in 2 days from now. None. Yeah. If we so miraculously walk out with a victory, I'm not going to turn around and be like, this is great. This is the turning point of our season. That's the lack of faith I have. And this stems right back to Conte. Yeah. Because essentially, he is a man that says he has this way of approaching the game. He's a fanatic. He can't sleep when he doesn't win. And all this jizzy jazza and all that nonsense. All right, cool. I read an article where apparently he said he's not going to leave Spurs until he wins a trophy. Yeah. And then the meme started, with him looking old. Yeah. Now, that's fine. That's nice. If that's genuinely how he feels, then go sign the contract today.
Yeah.
Like go do it now. Like don't give me none of this gas. Yeah. I don't want to. If we score on Sunday, because I don't know what the scoreline is going to be. If we score on Sunday, I don't want to see Conte celebrate. Because this season, on what I've seen in terms of his man management, how he's managed the squad, what he's done with Jed Spence, he should be ashamed of himself. There's no way you can. If I was Jed Spence and I was sitting there, I'd be like, even if I wasn't like great, you mean to tell me Emerson's better than me?
It's crazy.
No.
It's crazy.
Big man.
It's crazy. He's
No,
been
Conte's got a lot of. If there's ever been a point in his career, I think he, if I'm correct, he managed Brescia before he went to Juve. If there's ever been a point in his career at a big club in which he can be questioned for his big managerial status, it's right now. I know, yes, we finished top 4 the last season, but let's be very frank with each other. Yeah, with 10 games to go, we were what, 10 points off. We had games in hand that we were losing left, right, and center. Like, it wasn't like, oh, Spurs could get there. The only point in that season, last season, when people were like, oh, you know what, Spurs might be able to nick top 4 here, yeah, is when we actually beat Arsenal at home. Up until that point, it was a fairy tale. It was a hope. It was a pipe dream. Now, we sit 5th in the league, 18 games played. There's a lot of games left to play. We know that much. There's 18 games left. But our run of fixtures are the barometer of where we are in life right now. We are about to face our rivals at home, who currently sit 11 points ahead of us in the league. And they've got a game in hand against Manchester City, who we face back to back. Like a damn mother-sucking Drake song. And what makes this worse is we are the Meek Mills of this situation. We're not winning. Nobody expects us to win. We're slipping downstairs.
So let's zoom out of it then, right? Because I think that makes it abundantly clear. And I think Conte, it speaks to how poor a job he's done for large spells this season, that we have our fan base not knowing what to expect from our team in a North London derby. I think, of course, we give the players stick. We know Enoch are culpable, but I genuinely believe that he needs to shoulder a lot of responsibility here. And I think we can spin that in a positive, right? And acknowledge that he needs to conjure up something here. He needs to get these guys playing in a way that's good enough to beat Arsenal, because this season they've only lost once, right? They've won 14 out of 17 games. Yeah. He needs to conjure something up. If anyone can do it, he can do it. We went off the back of 2 straight wins back to back and went to Man City last year and won, right? This is a man that's capable of doing this. And like Jack said earlier on, we do have certain players in this squad. Despite the dross, we do have certain players in this squad that are capable of raising their game and getting us something here. But most important for me is the system. We need a cohesive system that can beat Arsenal.
Here's a question for you. Yeah? Just
Go on.
out of curiosity. And this is a massive hypothetical at this point.
Yeah.
Let's say we do win. And let's say we win well even. What does this do for you?
I think it gives us a boost going into Man City. I don't think it means, oh, wow, Spurs are guaranteed to get top 4. But I mean, at least it gives us momentum heading into that game. And as we've seen with Arsenal, momentum is absolutely key. When the team's winning, right, it puts them in a groove. You see at Man United now, Man United, they're not, when I watch Man United, I'm not even like overly impressed, right? And it's not to say that they're bad, but I don't think like they're blowing teams away, but they're winning. They're winning, bro. And winning breeds consistency. We need to get back to a position where we're actually winning games. And I feel like getting a win off the informed side of the league can boost the confidence that we need to go to Man City and hopefully try and get something out of that game.
But the thing is, I think we haven't shown that this season at all. And I think that one of the few times we showed it last season was towards the back end of it. So, this team being capable of it, I can't see it personally. I think it will be very short term if we, somehow do win. And I think we'll just go back to our usual ways after that, to be honest. And because I just don't think so many members of this first 11 don't have the minerals to keep that consistency up, keep that intensity up, and play well for more than one game in a row. And yeah, it's going to be problematic. Going back to the thing, sort of Conte's responsibility, I just want to say this. I think he does shoulder some blame. I think, the Spence thing, consistently putting Chicken Royale on the pitch. I think he has to hold responsibility for that. But say he did do all of that, say he did address all of that ages ago, how much better off would we be? Is the question I'd have, because I'm not sure we'd be much better off. We'd be, get the odd point or two here, probably, but I still think the overarching picture would still be where we are, and would still be moaning and complaining.
Yeah, but that's not the only reason, though. We also have the fact that he sticks to a 2 in midfield no matter who we're playing, and the only time we see him change to a 3 midfield is when there's injuries.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think he could be more proactive in that, and I think that's something
that goes back to my point, right? Like, I think his in-game substitutions, his starting lineups, like, you guys know how much I love Conte, so like I'm only judging him based off his standard. And if we judge him based off his standard, what he did for us in the back end of last year, he just hasn't got it right a lot of times this season. But I do get the point you're saying. Like, even if he gets it right, there's still anchors that are pulling him down. But he at least needs to give us that sentence, give us that argument to say you are doing the best you can do with this team, and you're just getting let down. Because can we all confidently say that Conte's done the best he can do with this squad this season? Has he prepared them for every big game we've played tactically? Has he been able to outfox some of these managers that we know he's capable of this season?
Not this season, no.
There you go. Then
I'm going to say something that might be controversial. I don't think he did that last season either. Now, I know a lot of people will be like, but hold on, back end of the season, you guys were great. You steamrolled through the last 10 games, won all the games that you needed to win, and got top 4. I'm like, yeah, but I generally believe that was more down to the fact that the 2 players we did purchase were a different entity in the league, and players from other clubs didn't know what they were dealing with. It's kind of the Bruno effect, or what I like to call the Bruno effect, where these 2 players are coming to the league, they're of a certain quality, and I do think they're 2 quality players in Kulu and Ben. But many teams that we were facing didn't know what they brought to the table. They didn't know what they were up against. And so that different entity gave us a little bit of a leg up. Now that they've embedded themselves into the league and we face teams at least once or twice, teams have a seemingly interesting way of trying to deal with them. Yeah. The big difference is this season is that I believe Ben and Kulu have both in parts shown that they can rise their level. However, the problem on that is both of them have been injured. And injured for quite a long time in this season. So we haven't had that consistency from them this season, unfortunately. And so I would love to attribute a lot of stuff to Conte for getting us top 4 last season, as you would for a manager that's done X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, I'm like, what happens if this January he doesn't get 2 players in? Because we've now gone 18 games. You couldn't name me one of the 18 games where you thought, even the Palace game. I watched that. I was like, whatever, man. I didn't even think we were incredible in that game. I actually literally watched that and was like, yeah, whatever. Crystal Palace look crap. That's how I actually watched the game. I watched the game thinking Palace look crap. I didn't watch the game thinking Spurs look good. And then I think about this season, and I can't name you a single match this season where I thought we look fantastic or we look good. I couldn't name you one.
I can name 2, and that's about it.
Name them.
Southampton at home and Fulham at home. That's it.
After we let it go down.
Which is poor in itself. Yeah, but Southampton were not in that game at all, bro.
Yeah.
So
they are the worst team in the league as well.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It speaks to itself, right?
Yeah.
We've not seen enough complete performances over 90 minutes, but I do think that he definitely takes he should take a lot of credit for where we finished last year, because ultimately he put together a system that Kulu and Bentancur benefited from, that Matt Doherty benefited from. He was getting something out of Eric Dyer, getting something out of Sessegnon, right? Getting something out of Ben Davis. Yeah, he had the team well drilled. Conceding, it wasn't even just Ben 10 and Kulu who were massive. The team were conceding less goals and was scoring way more goals, right?
How does a team that concedes less goals literally only 3 months later concede double the amount.
because they're bozos.
They're world
And the
dreamers.
manager, because they're bozos, and the manager just hasn't been as good as he was last year. That's
Okay.
literally why.
Okay.
I felt we look at all the top managers, and for the most part, they're very married to their system, right? They're very married to their formation, their strategy, and how they do things, and they'll live and die by it. Basically, we've seen it with Jose Mourinho, Pep Guardiola. They'll do whatever. Pep Guardiola, 16-17, no matter what was happening, he stuck with that system. Everton would be slapping them 4-0. He'll still play that same way. He's married to it, right? And Man City fans back then would probably argue, that he could have done this, he could have done that, he could have, dropped off a little bit. But the overarching picture is we don't
He
have
got
good
his
enough
players.
players that can fit into the system. We're not signing or scouting the right profile of players to
Agreed.
work with the system that he's playing. We've got
Agreed.
again, where Conte is at fault is you're playing Emerson Royale, who is the antithesis of what his wing back should be like.
Yeah.
So that would, again, I don't know what he's thinking. Is this a message to the board to say we desperately need a right wing back? I'm not sure. It's harming the team
It's nuts.
regardless. So
I think it's the latter. It has to be, because there's no way he can look at Spence and believe that Emerson is better. I think it's because Spence has played in the Championship, and
it's not
he
his
just
signing.
he wants a player who's probably been more experienced in the top flight league, right? He probably knows that Spence is better than Emerson, but he's thinking, I want a player that I want, right? Not the player that you want.
Do you think it's also a principle thing? This is your player. I'm not going to sign your player. I'm not going to play. Sorry, the player you signed. I'm going to play the players I've signed, or that have somewhat thrived under me, or whatnot. Do you reckon it could be something
I think there's a
along
part
the
to
lines
play
of that
in
as
that.
well?
I think there's a part to play in that, but I also think Conte is a weirdo and likes shit players. It's not the first time.
No,
it's
he
happened.
does. He does. He does.
He's a weirdo. He's a weirdo and likes shit players.
Like who?
Like Emerson Royale.
Anyone else?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Ashley Young.
But listen, guys, we're gonna wrap this one up now. Just looking ahead to the ups, right? They got the wind in their sails now. What do you think is crucial for us to do in this game to actually get a positive outcome? Because you're looking at Arsenal now. They're going to have that numerical advantage in the midfield if Conte doesn't pattern the midfield properly. They have proficient players in the midfield who move the ball with speed. They have the aggressive front line who are going to press every touch on the ball. And then they have a really rock solid defense at the back who seem to be capable of playing up against sides who can try and hit them in transition. Obviously, Man United aside. So for all intents and purposes, it looks like they've got enough about them to come to our ground and get 3 points. But yeah, I'm still going to go for a Spurs win, but that's beside the point. I want to ask you guys before we end this, what do you think is crucial for Spurs to get a positive result here? And I'm going to start with you, Jack.
Intensity. I think if we play at the intensity we've been at for 99% of the season, we're getting smoked. We're getting smoked because we know how Arsenal are going to come out, especially at the beginning of the game. We know what they're going to do, and I think if we don't match that, at least, I see us struggling out wide, especially. I see us struggling in possession, especially in our half. And yeah, so I think if we can match that intensity and actually provide and actually play with somewhat of a press as well, but whilst not sitting in a mid deep block, but sitting not too high, I think maybe we might stand a chance. I think we need to relinquish possession of the ball. I think they're just a better footballing team than us. They're gonna have more ball. They're gonna be better than us. We're not gonna out football them. That's just not gonna happen with the players we've got. But I think if we can match the intensity, but also be able, catch them in transition with incisiveness, with the incisiveness we showed, games against City last season, things like that. If we can play with that level of incision and let the sort of automation work, then maybe we might stand a chance. But that's asking for a lot for these guys. That's asking for too much, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah.
There's Absolutely no objections to what Jack said. I agree with 100% with everything he said. Honestly, I've got nothing positive about this game. Nothing whatsoever. And I know people be, it's so negative. And I know those legacy fans will be like, you gotta show some positivity. You are not real fans. You're so negative. Go kiss my ass. Yeah, like honestly, I've got nothing positive to say about what's gonna happen on Sunday. I hope and pray for a win. I don't see none of that happening whatsoever. So
Put a score on it.
Put a score on it. We lose 4-1.
You're taking a piss.
I say we lose 2-0, but boy,
4-1 in a North London derby. Fucking hell! If that happens, we are in the pit of hell. Jesus
I think you're not even gonna like the way that I've even in my head. Yeah, listen, this is bad. We go 1-0 down. We equalize. The flipping stadium's rocking. 49 seconds later, they go 2-1 up. At halftime, they come out the second half. They go 3-1 up. And just with the last 10 minutes, they go 4-1.
I can't believe you're putting this bad energy in the air.
It's
Eric,
not
Eric, that
energy. You know what our club has done. Do you know what they've done to me? Yeah, this was the season. I said, you know what? Positivity is back. Man is the good guy. Let me go and get a season ticket again. Yeah, things will be good. I have regretted this decision since game week 9. Yeah,
I warned you.
You did.
I warned you.
You did warn me.
Yo, don't listen to Jack. Just keep it. Yeah, just sell it on.
No. Eric Dyer, loose pass. Martinelli's running onto it. Boom,
Jesus.
1-0. I see. You know what's gonna happen. You know what's gonna happen.
Listen, Jack. So you're going for 2-0.
Yeah, 2-0.
I'm gonna go for 2-1. Based on who's available, I'm gonna go for 2-1. It's a hopeful 2-1, but listen, I've seen worse Spurs sides beat Arsenal sides as good as this Arsenal side. I genuinely have. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I've seen us pam Arsenal at home with Bentaleb and Mason in the midfield.
Yeah.
Right? So that's my hope.
Well, Bentaleb's better than
Arsenal weren't as good as they are now. Then though, that's the thing. You got.
No, they're really good now. They're really good. Yeah, they're really good now. So it's of course, admittedly, it's a tougher opposition. But listen, it's a North London derby. Anything can happen. But lads, I'm gonna call it a day there. Guys, thank you for coming on and sharing your Friday evening with me. I know it's pained you to talk about Spurs. I know it's nuts. It's pained you to talk about this derby, but we've done it, guys. And all I would say is get behind the team. Scott Hall, I'm going to see you at the game on the weekend. You're going to sit next to me and we better be screaming and shouting and yelling, come on, you Spurs. I do not want to see you with your arms crossed like a crybaby. You better be singing. That's another thing as well we didn't mention. The crowd is so important for this game. It's so important.
I can't be... No. Listen, Tops was there. And obviously, this is the last thing I'll say before, but Tops was there when we went to the Sporting Lisbon game. And listen, I've told people before, me in the South Stand, mayhem. Like pure mayhem, bruv. I was moving like the ultimate warrior, rocking the bloody stadium. When I thought we had got the winner, I had my oldest son was beside me. I had bare people. I put one woman in a headlock. I went nuts. Yeah. For that goal to be chalked off, nobody could speak to me for the rest of the day. Not my oldest son, not my youngest son, not my cousins, not my aunt, not my grandma could speak to me. Nobody could speak to me. If I'm in the South Stand for this derby and this club makes me vex, oh my, I'm going to get a ban again. I'm going to get a ban. I can't get another ban.
I don't want to. I'm not gonna let you because you're gonna explode now. I don't want you to explode.
Yo, Toby, you better time to the chair, bro. you
better be. Are you in so where are you actually, Jack?
I'm in Manchester, yeah. So
you're not even coming to the game.
Nah. I ain't. You think I'm coming to that?
Safe space, man.
Don't
listen
to this Jack guy. He says, "You think I'm coming to that?" But he will go to Man City away. That's
But Jack is mad like that. Jack is insane like that.
My head don't make sense sometimes. But I'm glad I ain't at home right now because boy, listen, I hear the banter every time.
Hey, all I need to know on Sunday is before kickoff. I need to know if there's actually, you know, I'll come to the south side. I'll
Yeah,
come to the south. But
yeah,
I'm sitting
just
there, arms folded. I'm protesting. I don't care what anyone says. Bro.
come to the south stand. But listen, people, we're about to call it quits. Thank you for tuning in. If you're watching, make sure to keep tuning into the New Spurs Order and Touchline. Follow us on socials. New Spurs Order, one word. Touchline Fracker, one word. Yeah, man. If you're listening on audio, then enjoy it, drink it in. I hope you're listening to this. Maybe not so much on the day of the match. Listen to it on a Saturday, because if you listen to this, it might sort of keep you downbeat for the game. So enjoy your evenings. Take care. Bless up.
Peace.